Green 18. Green 19. Hut.
If you watch football currently with defensive players, you take Aaron Donald, you take Khalil Mack, and you combine them, and you got 56 for the New York Giants. Now, Skip, you were in the league and you covered this dude when he played.
I did.
There's nothing like him.
I agree.
There's nothing like him. It's not even close. Who's the greatest defensive player to ever live? He's it. LT played in an era, and you know this. Everybody wanted two things. You wanted a great defense, and you wanted a running game. Because people say you can transport that. It could be 105, it could be raining, it could be snowing, it could be freezing. But if you could play defense and you could run the ball, you could win anywhere, any time of the year. Now, can you imagine if LT got to rush the quarterback 45 snaps? They was running the football. Skip, you know in the NFC East, Washington ran the football. Dallas always tried to run the football. The Eagles ran the football. But I just want to give you a little glimpse into just how great LT was. In his first 10 years, he was 8 times first team All-Pro. Tom Brady, in 18 years, have been All-Pro twice. He went 8 of his first 10. Skip, he was Defensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year in his rookie season. He also is he and Alan Page are only the 2 defensive players that won league MVP. No, I'm not saying he was Defensive Player of the Year, Skip. He was league's MVP.
Lawrence Taylor won an MVP in Joe Montana's prime, in Dan Marino's prime, in John Elway's prime. Lawrence Taylor won an MVP. Now, I want you to think about this. Khalil Mack is great. In a passing league, Khalil Mack had 4 sacks as a rookie. In a passing league. When Lawrence Taylor broke into the league, it was a running league. There were teams that would throw 18 times, 20 times a game. He had over double that. He had 9.5 sacks. He won an MVP in the prime of Joe Montana, in the prime of Jerry Rice.
He made the left tackle famous. If you played in the NFC, if you could not block 56, you couldn't beat them. That's why the Washington Redskins went and traded for Jim Lachey. No. That's why Minnesota went and got Gary Zimmerman. The Rams got Irv Eatman. San Francisco 49ers got Steve Wallace. If you couldn't block 56, you couldn't beat the Giants. And guess what happened after that? Everybody says, I need me a 56. So now you get the Cornelius Bennett's. Now you get the Derek Thomases, the Von Millers, the Clay Matthews, the Justin Houston, the Khalil Mack.
Yep.
So this is when you know a player is great. Joe Gibbs changed his entire offense. He went and put an H-back in Clint Didier and those guys to help the left tackle block that young man.
Back to his rookie year, what do you think contributed to him assimilating so quickly to the NFL?
His dominance. I mean, the greatness of Lawrence Taylor. He's bigger, stronger, faster, more explosive. And even though he didn't really know what he was doing, instinctively as a football player, he's at the very top of the list.
And I know it's been a while, but what do you remember about that rookie year? Like, was there something that stood out to you where you saw that, like, that resonates with you to this day?
First practice. He played on all 4 phases in a kicking game. So it was hard to block on punt protection, as you can imagine. We didn't use him too much there. He was the gunner on the punt team. It was impossible to block. He played in the middle on kickoff return, and he had some of the biggest hits I've ever seen. And they played safety on kickoff coverage, and you were never really concerned that they were going to, get it too far, you know, like past the 30 or whatever. So he dominated from the first day of practice. Playoff game against Philadelphia, you know, really was the difference in that game, just on covering punts. Then, of course, once we started doing that with Taylor, then, you know, then the Redskins did it with Monty Coleman, Dexter Manley. Well, Dexter Manley first, then eventually Coleman. And anyway, it just, other teams started doing it. And so then it was kind of, almost wish we hadn't done it. But he was, yeah. But there's nobody that really I could put in his category that I've coached. There may be others that I haven't coached, but I mean, he's head and shoulders above whoever the next player is. And I've been fortunate to coach a lot of great defensive players, but be talking about Lawrence Taylor now, that's a whole different conversation. I mean, honestly, he could have played any position on defense except corner. He probably could have played corner too, but safety, linebacker, inside, outside, defensive end, defensive tackle, he would have been able to play nose guard at North Carolina. So, yeah.
And Belichick used to call him Superman. Belichick doesn't give anybody compliments. He used to call him Superman. And for those on radio that can't see it, he is treating pro athletes like rag dolls. He's grabbing 230-pound men and throwing them all over the field. Lawrence Taylor was Mike Tyson in his early 20s. Other pro athletes were afraid of him.
Lil and LT.
I played against
You got
Lawrence.
some. You got a taste.
I did.
He gave you a taste.
He gave me a little taste. I used to call him Mr. Taylor. He's frightening. Not only, hey, listen, man, that dude was the most. He was like, you know, all these Marvel comic movies that they put out all the time. You know, like that. He was a Marvel comic character before. Like he was not even real. Like his on the field, he wasn't even real.
Just
that
stronger,
dude,
faster.
When we started the meeting, I played 3 straight years again. We beat them 5 out of the 6 times, too. Buddy Ryan, we started the offensive game plan, said, I've never, ever said this before in my history of coaching. We're getting ready to double this guy every single play. Even when we run away from him, we're going to double team him. There will not be a play that he will play against us where we will not double team Lawrence Taylor. Now, the quarterback's playing now. Right. They couldn't play with LT because LT, not only was he great, but he put some fear in you by his conversation and what he told you he was going to do to you.
Oh, dude, he was unreal. We got to the point when I was in Washington where we would not run away from Lawrence Taylor. Every play we ran at him.
Why?
Because if you ran away from him, he'd tackle you. Well, we had a play where we broke one out on a counter away from him, and we ran it probably about, I don't know, 45, 50 yards. Gerald Riggs down the sideline. Lawrence Taylor caught him, strip fumble, recovered the fumble. Giants ball the other way, we lose it. At the very end of the game, we got to the point where you can't run away from him. He'll make every play in the backfield. So we just ran at him, and we thought the whole principle of it was we're going to run at him, we're going to put helmets on him as much as possible, and hope to God it slows him down in pass rush occasionally.
What's the difference in how intimidating he was compared to some of the guys today? Because you talk about LT, and all I hear, he was so intimidating.
You're not allowed to be as intimidating today.
Absolutely.
Because the quarterbacks today know, no matter what trash you're talking, the entire football industrial complex
so much pain on them.
Right, it's set up to protect the quarterback. There were no, I don't want to say there were no rules, but I mean, Lawrence Taylor was able to do almost anything he wanted once he got to the quarterback. And
he took over the title as fiercest rusher from Deacon Jones. Deacon Jones, he's the one that made the head slap illegal. He said, man, what do you do to him? And, I slap a guy on his left or right ear. Does it work? He said, it stuns him for a second. Yeah. They made that illegal. Right. And then Lawrence Taylor took over as the most feared rusher. Intimidation was such a part of the game in the 70s and 80s that's been eliminated. But let's not forget the power and the speed. When you saw him play at the University of North Carolina, it was like they shot him out of a cannon. Like he knew the offense, what the snap count was. So, man, his get off on the ball was phenomenal. There's not players like him you can compare him to.
I'll tell you what, I'll break the huddle against LT. And you break, and you had counter called. and you walk up the line of scrimmage, and you just be peeking out the side of your eyes, and he'd be down there at the end, and you knew you had to pull and trap him, right? And I'd be like, I'd get in my stance. You know, the thing about fear, because I was scared to death, but you know, it didn't stop me from putting one foot in front of the other, right? That's the difference about going out and playing. But I'd be in my stance going, oh God, this is going to hurt me a lot more than it's going to hurt him. Like he was going to feel no pain, and you just run down and bam, you know, it'd be a huge collision, and your neck would be like, and he'd be just like, hey, good hit, youngster.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
Coached by Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Head coach Bill Parcells. So you're talking about, remember I tell you, 99% of the players need a system? He didn't need a system, but he had the perfect system, that 34. He could rush off on that left tackle, man.
He's in the 1% that doesn't need a system, but he also happened to be in the perfect system
for him.
which is why I know you're not into this, but if we were to remove like positional value and someone were to say, who's the greatest football player ever? If someone says Lawrence Taylor, you can't dismiss it.
No.
Like, he is absolutely in the discussion for not the greatest pass rusher ever, the greatest football player ever.
He changed offensive football and made you put your best offensive lineman at left tackle.
Yeah.
Because they started putting their best rush guy at the right defense.
Everyone thinks the book and movie The Blind Side's about Michael Orr. It's actually about Lawrence Taylor. Everyone, if you only saw the movie with Sandra Bullock and her Academy Award, I get it. Read the book, because the book is actually about Lawrence Taylor, with Michael Orr being the contemporary left tackle.
Okay, so you played against Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, I did.
Why don't you tell us a story?
Well, it's my rookie season, and they tell me, they say, Eric, we gotta play. Well, we're gonna ask you to block Lawrence Taylor. Now you gotta think I'm a rookie. This is my first NFL game. It's a season opening, the Giants in New York. And I said, block him? What you mean block him? And Bruce Snyder said, well, just get his hands down. But I ain't got to block him now. He said, no, just get his hands down. I'm like, okay. So sure enough, you know, as the game starts, you know, he's cursing me out. You know, you rookie, you punk, you don't get no 100 yards. So I'm having a pretty good day.
Yeah.
As the game goes on, I still call it the play. The play's coming. So it's a play where Mike Barber's going to, you know, cut inside, and we're going to let LT come free. So let him come free, and I cut him, and I cut him good. So as I'm walking back to the huddle, he grabs me by the arm. He said, hey, I can't say what he said. Hey, bleep, 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 bleep. Don't you bleep, you cut me? I'm like, cool, okay. I leave the field. I go to the sideline. And I'm just standing over there. And, you know, we got the first down. They're like, where's the running back? Eric. I'm like, nope, not going back. Not going back. You said, he started laughing. But I said, that man said he gonna kill me out there. I said, I said, I said, nope, not now. I said, I'll wait a few plays and I'll go back. And so finally I go back into the game. And after the game, I couldn't wait till the game to end so I could apologize to him. You know, because that's Lawrence Taylor. So after the game, I say, Mr. Taylor, I just want to apologize, man. He said, man, don't cut me. I said, man, I'm sorry, man. He said, man, I'm just joking. I said, man, don't do me like that, man. I said, I didn't want that play. But let me tell you something. When you played against Lawrence Taylor, he was the X factor in a football game. He changed the way offensive linemen got in their stance. Did you remember the linemen used to get in a three-point stance?
That's right.
He changed the way they couldn't get out of the stance fast enough, so they started putting their hands on their knees so they could get up.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he changed that whole deal because that's how fast he was on the corners.